There are multiple interstellar factors converging right now simultaneously, and individually, each of them on their own may or may not be really all that important energetically, though I think 3i Atlas, which is one of those factors, is having a tremendous influence on the Earth energetically through this entire transit through the solar system. It has its closest approach to Earth on December 19th. So it did its perihelion, its closest approach to the sun, on October 29th. Now it's moving away from the sun. It's still in the inner solar system. Earth and 3i Atlas are getting closer together right now, day by day. That closest approach will be December 19th. That is the first interstellar factor, already a big one. In addition to that, we have a second interstellar factor, which is the fact that every December and January, Earth passes into an interstellar focus cone. So you have this neutral gas in interstellar space, and typically it's outside the heliosphere, okay? So you have all this neutral gas. It's made up of hydrogen, helium, you have neon, you have a carbon, oxygen, iron. You have a whole bunch of these ions and also neutral gas in space. What happens is it enters into the heliosphere like this because the sun is A, traveling through space, and B, there's also an interstellar wind as a result of the local interstellar cloud that we are in. And the hydrogen that comes in gets ionized pretty quickly, but the heavier ions, specifically helium and also neon, they effectively enter into our heliosphere with ballistic trajectories, aka they're not really affected by the magnetic field of the heliosphere. They go straight to the sun, and once they're near the sun, that they start to deviate through gravity and also the gravity of the Earth, creating a focus cone, this zone of much higher interstellar material. And then they also slowly ionize. We enter into that focus cone every single year. It's an annual thing because we travel through it. December and January, that is also happening. That has a variety of unique interstellar effects, you could say, though they're not necessarily so dramatic as to say we're in a huge geomagnetic storm right now or something like that. These are more kind of in the background, diffuse, nebulous, but certainly energetically still there. The third big factor that we have occurring very, very soon, this time period, December through January, is that we have a historic conjunction between a whole bunch of planets. So a historic planetary alignment, we can look at that right here with the solar system scope. And this is set for 1936, in fact. We'll go back to that date. You'll see why. That's the last time we had a alignment similar to this, though this one is different. Because you'll notice that we have Jupiter, Earth, Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars all in alignment. And if I swing this around, you will see that this alignment is lining up with the galactic center. So Sagittarius here is the constellation that's basically aligned with the galactic center. It's the tail of Scorpius here, so Scorpio, and the little flange from Ophiuchus and Sagittarius that define the galactic center, the center of our galaxy. So this alignment occurs every 2,338 days or so, the Mars-Venus-Earth alignment, where you have Mars and Venus on the other side of the sun, Earth is over here. This lining up with the galactic center is of course more rare than that because they travel through the zodiac. So it's about every 5 of these, I believe it's every 5, where we get this alignment roughly with Sagittarius. And then this alignment with Jupiter in the mix is very, very rare. That's not something that you get all the time. And then we also, at the same time, in January with this, have Neptune and Saturn conjunct, which is a very interstellar energetic signature to begin with. Neptune representing the far edge of our solar system and what lies beyond, and Saturn is this manifesting agent where it'll bring things into reality. So no surprise that we see interstellar object 3I Atlas flying in as we have this Neptune-Saturn conjunction. It's really a perfect archetypal representation of the energies that are currently at play. And then we have this historic alignment here with that. And this interstellar solar wind is also coming in from the rough direction that this alignment's occurring in. It comes in from roughly here near Scorpio. So it's coming in like this. We have this alignment. We also have interstellar object 3I Atlas. And then we have the sun traveling in that direction as well. So let's go down the list one by one of all the different things that are occurring and how this is creating what I'm calling an interstellar maelstrom, because how this energy is swirling and mixing together really is a big unknown. Here's our latest picture of interstellar object 3I Atlas, taken by Hubble on November 30th, 2025. There are some newer images, of course, from amateur astronomers, but this is by far our highest resolution look at the coma of interstellar object 3I Atlas. This right here is not our nucleus. It's where the nucleus is, but in fact, this is still about 400 kilometers across, if you measure it out. And the nucleus of 3I Atlas is not 400 kilometers across. Our best estimates are that it's maximum 5.6 kilometers. There are some that are higher than that, going up to 50 kilometers, though they don't have as much weight behind them now as they used to as we've gotten more data. But it's not 400 kilometers across, that much is sure. That'd be gargantuan. It'd be the biggest comet ever, because the biggest comet that we've observed is UN 271. That has a diameter of like 147 kilometers. So this is a high resolution look at 3I Atlas. You'll notice that it has this coma. The big story here is neutral gas, okay? Interstellar space is full of a lot of neutral gas. And what is a neutral gas? A gas, of course, is the third state of matter. You have solids, liquids, gases. It makes up our atmosphere. You have plasma being the fourth state of matter. It's more vibrational, where you take a gas, which is already more energized than a liquid or a solid, and then you energize it even further and you strip off the electrons, which then make it ionized. But interstellar space is made up of a lot of gas and then is weakly ionized because you have all this energy coming in from different stars and explosions and things of this nature. So there is just in general a background energetic flux which causes some ionization of space, but a lot of the interstellar medium is actually just neutral gas. It's called neutral because it doesn't have a charge. So as a result of that, it's not affected by magnetic fields. Now there are large-scale electric and magnetic field dynamics for interstellar space, for the galaxy and more. That's undeniable. But there's also a large component of interstellar space that is made up of neutral gas that's not affected by these things. And they're primarily under the influence of gravity. What happens is the sun is moving through space, and you also have the interstellar wind which is blowing, and the two combine together, and anything that's neutral can pass into the heliosphere basically unobstructed. And as a result, it can then travel through. It's not affected by magnetic fields, and it can get actually pretty deep into the heliosphere. That's this focus cone I've been talking about. I'll say it again more. Comets also release a lot of gas because they are sublimating. So you have ices and liquids that just go straight to gas, and you do have a lot of ionization of that gas with the comet. That's one of the issues right now in mainstream science, is that people aren't talking about plasma as it relates to comets, like the mainstream agencies, which is kind of bizarre because it's a very dynamic plasma process that occurs with comets. You know, they're very electric in nature, electric and magnetic, but there's also simply neutral gas. And so what you see here is you do see a lot of neutral gas. What's interesting about neutral gas is that if you have neutral gas close to the sun, there's enough energy being emitted from our star that it will then ionize that neutral gas. And as a result of that, you produce soft X-rays. So one of the things that we see is with neutral gas is that you have this charge exchange. Here we can see this in action. We have interstellar helium atom, and we have the electrons floating around it. Here's a solar wind oxygen atom. It swings by, it tracks the electron, and now you have an ionized helium atom, and in the process, this releases an X-ray photon. Because the electron for that, now captured by the oxygen, decharges and releases that photon of energy by going to a new lower orbital level. So when you have a comet in space, close to the sun, like 3I Atlas, it will produce these soft X-rays. You also get these soft X-rays produced by interstellar gas that is brought into the heliosphere because it's not magnetic initially. So every December through January, we enter into this region near the sun where there's just more interstellar gas, and it's producing these X-rays, this soft vibrational wavelengths of light. And when you have energy, you also have information. That energy and information will get absorbed into the ionosphere surrounding the Earth, and from there it can get converted into a variety of different things like telluric currents, and then perhaps has an influence over us. It's certainly something to think about if you zoom out to the perspective of consciousness, and also just like large-scale electromagnetism, how we're bioelectric, and the morphic resonance energy information consciousness field of the universe, which includes, of course, the Earth, the Sun, the solar system, interstellar space, galaxy, universe, and more. So we have interstellar object 3I Atlas flying through the inner solar system right now, going to be as closest to Earth on the 19th. There's been tremendous amount of interest on interstellar object 3I Atlas, which has been, frankly, quite astonishing. Now it's been going on and on more. I'm not maybe as astonished as I was at the beginning, just the overwhelming interest in this, but I think it really speaks to how there is an intrinsic human desire and longing to not only understand what lays beyond Earth and conventional reality, but also to connect to that and to resonate with that. Because our heliosphere, if we go back to our heliosphere here, is immersed within the larger interstellar medium. The heliosphere goes out to 100 AU at the front of it. So this region right there is about 100 astronomical units away from the sun, and then stretches out to about 800 astronomical units on the tail end. This is what we believe the heliosphere looks like based off of some latest data, which uses this neutral gas coming in from the interstellar medium to map the heliosphere. It has this croissant-like shape. Instead of it just being like a cometary tail kind of look, it's believed to have this dual lobe structure, though we're not exactly sure. But this is our sun, and then there's basically just endless voids of interstellar space. So we are really riding like a little bubble upon the larger wave and the ocean of the interstellar medium. And we're affected by these energies. They come into the Earth. We can look at our focus cone here. So this shows us the path of neutral helium atoms from interstellar space. They come in with this ballistic trajectory all the way to the inner heliosphere, right into the inner solar system, where they finally start to get influence in their trajectory by the strong gravity of the sun and also the Earth. The Earth has the strongest gravitational field of the inner planets, and it's also at the distance that these things start to naturally converge to already, right? Venus is here, Mercury is there. Mercury is very tiny. Venus is similar in mass to Earth, but it's not as close in to where these energetic or these neutral atoms, helium and neon and others, will like bend their paths or trajectories. And so Earth naturally orbits through this cone of gravitationally focused helium every single year. And this occurs in December, roughly December and January. It peaks right after the equinox, or sorry, it peaks right after the solstice. So you have winter solstice, December 21st, and then you have effectively us moving through this gravitationally focused helium. We can see that also here, 4 different elements: carbon, oxygen, neon, and helium. 0 degrees is the vernal equinox. And if you go back to 90, that would be your solstice right here. That's your December solstice. And you see that there is this increased flux of neon, greatly increased flux here of helium, right? Look at just how much enhanced the helium percentage is. You're going from values of 500, 1,000, all the way up to 4,000, 5,000. So this is often when we travel through this, it's a 5 to 6 times increase in the density of the interstellar neutral helium gas. You also get a slight focusing with oxygen and with carbon, but in general, it's heavily, heavily, heavily focused with the helium and also neon, though at a slightly lower percentage. And we can see this passage through the interstellar neutral gas cone basically every single year. I don't have the latest data up because that's like a level 2, level 3 product. But here we see 1984. This is the days of the year. So this is January 1st right there. We see right near the end of the year, boom, we go up quite a bit with our phase space density. 1985, same deal. We have 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002. Look at how that increases each time, same time of year, just like that. Big shift in the phase space density. And here we see 2007 and also 2008. So we see that we go up at the end of the year, then we go back down as we exit that focus cone, then we go up, and then we go back down. So this is energetically neutral gas. It's gravitationally focused. But again, as I talked about, we have this charge exchange process that slowly transfers energy from the sun and the solar wind to these interstellar gas atoms. And then that, as a result, releases X-rays and other highly vibrational wavelengths of light, which contains information to it. So there is this natural process that exists that could hypothetically exchange, it's not hypothetical really, exchanges energy and information from the interstellar environment to the local heliospheric environment in the inner solar system. And Earth is perfectly positioned with its orbit, again, to benefit from receiving that energy. Venus is further out of this focus cone. Mercury is quite a bit out of it. Earth is perfectly focused to receive this. I think Mars is also pretty well focused to receive it as well, but Mars doesn't have the global electric circuit developed like Earth does. So Earth has this natural energy flow already. For Mars, it's very, very quiet and dead, basically. So we have interstellar object 3I Atlas. We have this interstellar focus cone. We also have this historic planetary alignment. Let's give that a look because this is really quite striking and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about when I show you this. So here we have, again, our solar system scope, which shows us the relative alignment of the planets. And this is a pretty rare alignment here. You don't get this every day. Again, it's every 2,338 days to get this Earth, Venus, Mars alignment. But to get Jupiter mix is quite rare. So we can go back to 1936. And this is kind of interesting. I think this is really interesting. I don't put all my salt on this, but I think this is very interesting and worth considering. And this is actually June that this occurred. So here we have that same alignment, okay? We have Mars, Venus, Earth, Jupiter. This is right before World War II, like just before World War II. And Jupiter's not perfectly aligned with this, okay? So you see that it doesn't have a perfect alignment with Jupiter like we have coming up. But if this alignment is connected to, for example, consciousness, then this presented an opportunity effectively, this natural alignment and flow of energy, which you see is also lined up with Sagittarius. So this time it's Earth and Jupiter on this side, whereas this alignment has Venus and Mars on the Sagittarius side, which is where the galactic center is, where you have more energy flow coming in from the superclusters. You have X-rays, you have gamma rays, you have high energy cosmic particles. You have a greater energy flow, a greater gradient of energy and information coming from the galactic center. Last time we had this alignment, and we were lined up with this just before World War II. And we did enter into a second World War, right? There was a choice point there of people waking up and saying, I'm done with this. Like, we've had enough. We're not going to war. They didn't wake up. We went to war. We had a second World War. Perhaps this was a choice point for us, and we didn't take the opportunity. We just simply weren't awake enough. The other thing you'll notice is that this is June. So it's not exactly like we have now. If I go forward to the present moment, you'll see the position changes, where here we see that it's Mars and Venus now on the Sagittarius side. Earth and Jupiter are on the other side here. So the way I see this is that it seems to me that we have an opportunity here with this increased flow of galactic energy coming through, with us being in this interstellar gas focus cone, and also with 3i Atlas being nearby, and also there being a Saturn-Neptune conjunction, to really chart our own course, to choose our reality, and to up-level the human race, humanity, society, culture, and consciousness. And it's built on our individual choices. Everyone has their own individual choices. Will they stand up to tyranny, authoritarianism, or will they just roll over and watch another TikTok? Effectively, if you want to really boil it down. That's kind of where we are. And so this is a very rare planetary alignment here that is in alignment with that natural flow of cosmic energy, and you have this overall heliocentric alignment too with Neptune and Saturn. You can then add interstellar object 3i Atlas into the mix, because here we have our sky live. We'll go forward in time, okay? So here we have our closest approach of 3i Atlas on the 19th right here. So that's when Earth and 3i Atlas are at their absolute closest, which isn't that close, but that is the closest that we get. But if we go forward to January, we see this alignment start to form right here. You notice that 3i Atlas is pretty much in this. And then if you go forward a little bit, you'll notice something interesting here too. You'll see that if you take Jupiter out, you can actually add Pluto in. So this alignment effectively maintains, and now it's 3i Atlas, Earth, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Pluto. That's very interesting. So we have kind of this double alignment that's unfolding at this moment in time, going all the way to the end of January. You see that this is January 21st right here. Now let us look at what this alignment's actually going to look like in the sky. So to do that, we'll load up Stellarium. So we basically are just seeing the sky, the position of everything, okay? We want to find the sun. Here we have the sun. If I really zoom in, you'll notice that we have Venus and Mars in conjunction with the sun at the same time. So this is a double cazimi between Mars and Venus in Sagittarius, aligned with the center of our galaxy, right? Now it's slightly off from the center, but it's not like it's over here. It's pretty much bang on the center of our galaxy. And that is a very significant alignment. And if I zoom out, as I've been showing you, here's Jupiter. Jupiter's in exact opposition. So this is what's actually going to look like in the sky. Now, you're not going to see this because this is during the day, okay? So if you're looking at the sun, you're not seeing Venus or Mercury, but they're all in alignment at the same time. The sun being the main energy center in our solar system, bringing in this energy as well, and then delivering it to Earth, because Jupiter is also going to be pulling in from the other side. We have Jupiter opposition on the 10th of January. We have this alignment at it's actually at 2030. So yeah, I basically got it bang on. 2030 Pacific Standard Time on the 7th of January. And then actually Earth is at its perihelion, its closest approach to the sun, on the 4th of January. So all these factors are converging simultaneously, which I find very interesting. And I just have this sense, this feeling, this intuition that this is probably going to bring up some pretty energetic events and factors of a more interstellar archetypal nature to them. They're going to be grander and larger in scale, not super localized, but more global, right? The last time we had this alignment, again, as I said, was June of 1936. World War II was a global event, the Second World War. So if this trend holds true, or if history rhymes, or these things have similar energetic properties to them, then this could be bringing up a global factor for us to all work together through, with, etc. I really don't have all the answers. Anyone that says they have all the answers shouldn't be really trusted, in my opinion. But there is a lot that's happening, and we have some clues as to what is happening, but we don't have any definitive answers. So that is the report. We have an interstellar maelstrom that's occurring right now. 3 different energetic factors converging. I think they're going to add together in what you could say a non-linear way. So it's not just 1 + 1 + 1 = 3. There's a synergy to them. And when you have synergy, you can have 1 + 1 + 1 = 5, or green. Like, it doesn't have to even be linear or logical anymore, because it's completely new and unique. And so last time in 1936, when we had that alignment, it was in June. We weren't in that focus cone of energy, which is only December and January. And maybe there was an interstellar object nearby, but pretty sure there wasn't. So we have interstellar object 3I Atlas. We happen to be aligned in that interstellar focus cone, and we also have this historic planetary alignment. It's all basically coming together. Now, in terms of like a very obvious effect, like, oh my God, there's crazy geomagnetic storming on the planet because of this. No, you're not going to get that from this interstellar maelstrom. Though we do have some big sunspots. I can show you our sunspots right now. We do have some big sunspots on the sun. Now, this has decayed a little bit over the past 48 hours, but if this sunspot, and it hasn't done a big X flare, this one specifically, this big sunspot group, it's actually multiple now, but it hasn't done a big X-class flare on the Earth-facing side that we've seen, but it can very well rotate and come back around, and if it does, maybe it gets activated by that Mars-Venus alignment, and perhaps we get some big solar storms coming our way as a result of that. We actually have a really good example of that from 3 of these synodic cycles ago. I can show you that. It's really quite striking. So here we have our Cassini sequence from 2006. And this is pretty mind-blowing, honestly. So, and let me reset this for you, okay? So we have Venus and Mars come in. This is the last time we had the same sort of alignment. You'll notice as they come in that we get our first burst of activity. This is during deep descending phase. That was a full halo right there. We get another one coming up right about here. There's another full halo coronal mass ejection. We get a comet and then a coronal mass ejection like that. Mercury comes in. We start getting a lot of activation from the sun as sunspots start to develop. Sunspots increase 4x during this time frame. Right as Jupiter comes in for Cassini, boom, we get big solar activity. And then watch this. Boom, 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 shakalaka. And then another big solar storm right here coming up. Boom, there we go. So you can see how we're in the deep descending phase of solar cycle 23. Sunspots are under 15. We get this conjunction. We start to get activity there. They're on the far side of the sun, right? This comet flying in shoots a coronal mass ejection right there. Do you see that? We get a Mercury Cassini 2 inferior conjunction in between the sun and the Earth. And then as you get this final cazimi with Jupiter, these sunspots are now starting to form. They're quite big. They're getting active. They then rotate towards Earth. 7 to 8 days later, we get those big solar storms that resulted in a G4 minus geomagnetic storm that lasted for 6 hours. So that's a good example as to how these sort of planetary alignments can perhaps trigger solar activity. If you watch this closely, you understand all the things, you see the clear like A triggers B, triggers C, triggers D. Really quite striking. This is the last time we had a sequence like this. Again, you'll see that this was October through December, so slightly before now. But in this time, Jupiter was in alignment with Mars and Venus, slightly off, but generally on that side rather than being on the Earth side in opposition. So that was a Jupiter conjunction, right? A superior conjunction with the sun versus what's happening now. So that is the update for you that I wanted to present. And I don't know what this is going to result in, but it looks quite dynamic. Once I learned of the interstellar wind and how we were passing to that focus cone, then it really brought everything together. Because before that, it was like, okay, we have 3i Atlas, we have this planetary alignment. How are they going to work together? The fact that we are in that enhanced interstellar flux right now, starting basically right now, is really, really interesting. And then you bring in the prior history, 1936, that global event. Maybe we could have prevented it if we all were more awakened, and well, we didn't do it. So we're going to begin our question and answer now. If you have a question, then please ask. You can ask in the chat. I'll take a few from the chat. Then also, I'll answer all the questions attached to Super Thanks. So we will do that. We'll start with some of the Super Thanks here. Greetings, fellow Earthlings. Hello and welcome. And Jennifer's asking, what's in the festivity? This is the newest tea blend coming out very soon on earthevolution.com/store. It has burdock root, apple, and cherry as the main ingredients, followed by licorice root and chamomile. And then there's also a spice blend of cinnamon, allspice, clove, and star anise, so anise seed. Really fantastic stuff. I'm drinking it right now. It's absolutely amazing. Super tasty, really festive. And once you're done brewing it, you can actually take the leftover, blend it up into a pulp, add it to a cake, and bake that, and it's incredible. Like, it adds so much flavor to the cake. It's super good for you. That is what's in the festivity. That'll be on the website, earthevolution.com/store, probably by the end of the weekend. I'm going to get that up very soon. Yeah, it's really good stuff. The licorice root makes it incredible. And Shannon is asking, are there going to be any earthquakes? That we don't know. We are right now in a high-speed stream of solar wind. It's actually something I was going to address. And that density has not dropped significantly. So it's lower now than it was, but it's not at that critical threshold that we check, which is 1 or under. So I think that that's kind of something that generally seems to line up with these big earthquakes. And as of right now, we're not in that. So that does not mean we can't get a big earthquake soon. We're definitely overdue for a magnitude 7. Typically, you get a magnitude 7 every 22 days. But in fact, what you normally see is clustering. We haven't had a big earthquake effectively since October 10th. So it's now December 5th. And I think it's likely that if the solar wind density drops a bit more, I think we may see something within the next few days. My original forecast was till the end of the weekend. And so unless something changes, that's kind of the heightened probability time window. And then we're back to like more lower risk earthquake conditions. But I can't say anything definitively. This is just my forecast based off of my expertise and understanding. And what the Earth actually decides to do is totally up to her. That's what I can say. And Erica's asking, is there a planetary alignment on 12/22/2025? The biggest ongoing one that we have then is Saturn and Neptune. That's an ongoing planetary alignment just for the solar system. And there's probably some minor alignments. There's always some like little minor alignments, but the big one is coming up is early January of 26. Question from Margaret is, why does our moon rotate? It does actually rotate. So it's called tidal locking. So it's in a spin orbit resonance. So what happens is you have the Earth and you have the moon. And the Earth applies a lot of torque to the moon. And the moon also applies torque to the Earth. So what happens is that Earth originally, we suspect, was spinning a lot faster, like 5 to 6 hours per rotation. But what happened is the moon formed either through Theia impacting, there's one hypothesis of an impact, the impact hypothesis. Another one is that we captured the moon. And over time, the moon grabbed angular momentum from the Earth, slowing Earth down to 24 hours. And then the moon, as a result, moved further out in its orbit, increasing its orbital velocity. Because the further out something is, the faster it orbits around. Or sorry, that's actually the closer in it is, the faster it'll orbit around. But the moon effectively took a lot of the angular velocity of the Earth by orbiting around the Earth. So what happens is the moon is rotating at the same speed that it's orbiting. So it's actually doing one rotation every orbit. So it looks like effectively from our position that we're always seeing the same side, because we are. There's only a small amount of libration, which is a little bit like just a wiggle in what we see. So we see something like 55 to 59% of the moon in overall, but we don't see the dark side because of that spin orbit resonance that's been established. So the moon is rotating, just from our perspective, it's not. And Duncan Stewart is asking, could the sun be changing over billions of years and cooling down some? Maybe our planets were bigger, like poor Mercury. Yeah, we really don't know the deep history of the sun. We just have our modern observations. We kind of backtrack. The mainstream ideas are that the sun is middle-aged, that it's about half as old as it will be. You know, it's let's say 5 billion years. It'll go to 10 and then it'll peter out. I have some different ideas personally. I don't necessarily subscribe to the middle-aged sun belief. I think it's really just a question of what material does the sun have. If the sun can all of a sudden accumulate a bunch of material, it's going to enter into a new energetic phase. So it works with what it has. But if it was all of a sudden to go through a really dense interstellar cloud, then, well, the sun could accumulate a lot of material and more gravity and fusion and all the things. It could really perhaps completely change. And, well, as it relates to the planets, how does that affect the planets? That affects the planets to a huge degree. So yeah, the planets being in different orbital positions, having different climates and temperatures, maybe even different sizes, these are all things that we really don't have answers to. So now we'll get to our super thanks questions. Jennifer is saying, did you see the footage from the Surfline camera the other night at 4:46 a.m.? Crazy lights over the ocean. No, I didn't, but maybe I can pull it up. Let's see what you're talking about. Surfline camera lights. I'll just type that in. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. So let me get this over for you guys. This is from, and a lot of these accounts just post nonsense. So let's just say that I have no idea what this is. It could just be fake. It could not be fake. I have zero clue. But we have these pulsing lights, I guess, from a surf camera. That's pretty wild. Yeah. Now, why is the camera moving? If this is like a fixed webcam, or maybe it's just, maybe this is a 16 by 9 video and they just cropped it. I don't know what this is. This looks like just some Fako stuff here. But we're in the age of AI, so I could see someone faking this. Like, are there multiple people that screen grab this, or does someone just take a random surf like live stream and add this in? I don't know. This is weird though. I'll look into it more. I can't obviously give you an answer. I don't think anyone can, but I'll definitely look into it more. So thank you for the super thanks. And Justin with support, thank you so much, bro. I appreciate that. Yeah, the world's a crazy place right now. Fed Up With It is saying not a comet. I think he's referencing 3I Atlas. And Sonora, thank you for the super thanks. I appreciate the way you share your knowledge of science with your philosophy of how we are connected to the cosmos. Thank you. Well, yeah, that's what I'm interested in, which is why I present that. Nothing that I say can be, guaranteed truth. I'm just exploring what the truth is. And to do that, you have to open up and explore a lot of ideas. And the truth resonates. So that's why you open up to a lot of new ideas. And then what is the truth should resonate with you. Sometimes God comes in and gives you the truth and you know it's the truth. So I'm just doing my best to understand what's happening with ourselves, the cosmos, and more, because I just find that interesting. I think it's the intrinsic human journey. Terry's asking, how does the sun stay hot? There's no generators up there. Well, the sun is the generator, so that's how the sun stays hot. It doesn't need generators, or it is all the things. Though we still don't really know exactly what the sun is. We have a lot of good ideas, but to say we know exactly what it is definitely not true. We probably just know, we only know partial truths about what the sun is. There's a lot more that we don't know with the sun than we do know. I think we can say that. So thank you for the super thanks. And the daily grind, thanks. Thank you so much, and nice haircut. Yeah, just got the cut today, so thank you so much. And Nikki is saying, preceding the 1345 volcanic eruption and the cooling and famine that helped spread the Black Death, comet C134501 skimmed the sun. An interesting planetary alignments also. Curious on your take. Well, we can pull it up. I've also just been looking into that recently because talking to another professional in the field, they've brought up an interesting connection with the Black Death and comets and more. So I think there's something there. It's very convincing what they talked about, but I'm not going to share that right now because it's, I'm just learning this today. But let's go back to 1345. So we'll use Pluto to do that. Go all the way back like this. 1345. I don't know when, but I'm sure we'll find the alignment. This must be the alignment you're talking about. So we have a Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter, Mars series alignment with Haumea, but also Earth basically getting in there as well. It's pretty interesting. Or if you go here, we have a Jupiter-Saturn cycle that's in play. If we go forward a little bit, even eventually a Neptune-Saturn-Jupiter cycle, which is very similar because we have the Neptune-Saturn cycle right now. And so here's an interesting planetary alignment as well. Basically, you get really interesting planetary alignments when the outer planets are doing stuff because these transits last a while and then we're always moving around quickly the sun. So these, for example, Saturn and Neptune's every 36 years approximately. A Neptune-Uranus cycle is every 170 years. So they cluster in time, and then there's big void periods where you don't really have anything. So thanks for bringing that to our attention. Very interesting. And then Loaded is also saying this is playing in with the generational cycle. Yeah, so I mean, there's also just the fact that the last people that were alive during World War II are now fading out, and you have karmic loops and rhythms, karmic cycles. And so have we learned all the things that we needed to from the past karma of World War II? I'm not so sure that we have. I would hope so, but I'm just not so sure about that. But we still have a chance before perhaps something happens. We don't want a third world war. We don't want anything like that. It's been a fear hanging over our heads for decades now. We don't want it. And for the truth and law, thank you for waking us up and waking myself up. That's really all I can say. But love your tea. Thank you so much. I don't understand solar wind. Is it like a wind on Earth? No, it's a stream of particles. So we call it solar wind because we just create names for things to make them familiar. But it's a stream of high energy particles that the sun emits that is structured. So it's not just homogeneous. It has these shock regions, and then you have these streams. And so we go through these shocks and these streams. In fact, that's what happened on Earth. We just went through that just a few days ago. So it was a G3 minus geomagnetic storm that we had. We see that shock region right here. If I turn you off really quick, we see the G3 minus geomagnetic storm. Here's the shock, here's the stream. So the solar wind has a structure to it, but it's made up of charged particles. That is what the solar wind is. And there's charged particles in space, interstellar space, and beyond. Jedi is saying, considering the double slit experiment, is it possible at this stage for the human collective to manifest a positive outcome into reality? Yeah, there's this interesting blend between like quantum physics, metaphysics, and philosophy that is very much just an ideascape, and how much of that is real, how much is not. Like, can you use the double slit experiment as a metaphor for manifestation? I don't know. I think these are interesting things to think about. I think, yeah, there's always outcomes that are manifesting. One is, how is your life manifesting? Because the world could be crumbling, but maybe your life's doing great. So what's your individual reality? What timeline are you in specifically, you could say? And then there's the larger collective one too. And yeah, we see the Earth and the trends going certain directions. And so I think we do have an ability to influence that collectively. It requires coherence. Which side is more coherent? Is the side of light or dark, or right? I mean, you could go non-dual and see how all these things are actually working together. Really, at the end of the day, just to stimulate consciousness. So then the bigger picture is, in my mind, is, are you awake? Are you not awake? That's kind of the deal. And Diva is asking, is it true that the moon is drifting away from the Earth? That is true. It's moving very slowly away from the Earth. Eventually, that's going to continue to change the rotation of the Earth and also the lunar cycles and more, but it's very, very slow. Terrestrial is asking, any thoughts on the Nevada 5.1 earthquake that was false reported, but people felt impact of? Yeah, I haven't seen anyone that said they felt an impact from that. I saw that report, like the quake alert, like 5 minutes after it happened. I just happened to catch it. And so I was like, oh, wow, big 5.9 in Nevada, like near like a pretty sizable town in Reno. So I was thinking about even covering that. And then I was waiting for USGS to put it on their website because it was just on volcano discovery, and they never did. And I also have a Twitter account, an X account, and no one was posting about it in terms of feeling it. And there were instead tons of people saying, I'm 10 minutes away from the epicenter. I didn't feel a thing. So if people felt the impact of it, I haven't read any of those reports myself, and we would know. We would know. If there was a 5.9 Nevada near big population centers, it would be undeniable. So it was definitely a false report. I would put money on that. I don't think everything's a cover-up. Thank you, Tara Lynn, for the super thanks. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And Bruder Just learned that the Northern Lights is the same colors as what is described as the New Jerusalem in the Bible. Wild. Yeah, I don't know about that, but thanks for sharing. That's interesting. If you're into that stuff, you guys can look into it. And then Nick Novak is asking, have I looked into the Blue Star Hopi prophecy? Whatever this is, it's amazing. Hope it wakes everyone up soon. Yeah, I think there's really something to the Hopi, the Native Americans, and the Hopi prophecy. I have looked into it. It definitely like deeply resonates with me. Whether that's happening right now, I can't say. I mean, it's you just have to. What do you believe, right? But I know that they're spot on with a lot of things. I mean, we're not treating the Earth properly. We're growing more and more distant from each other, right? People, some places you can walk down the street and people say hello as you walk by, but it's becoming less and less frequent. It's just, we're just more distracted, less connected, and less conscious. But there's also a group that's bucking that trend and becoming all those things. And so the question is, will that caterpillar transform into the butterfly, or will it just stay a grub? And we hope that we transform into the butterfly. And I think that the Hopi, being very spiritually connected to the land and these energy and information fields, were able to see into the future and maybe some of their spirit quests and visions. Because I've had my own experiences of precognition. Tons of people have. Go online and type in precognition dreams, and you'll read some insane accounts. And I've had my own that are undeniable. So it definitely exists. Time is linear for us in 3D, but if you go beyond the third dimension, time is all simultaneous. And sometimes we tap into that. That's what deja vu is, right? You have to go with the experiential. Like, what do you actually experience? Every now and then you get a glimpse of it. It's easy to then fool yourself, be like, oh, that's nothing, whatever. But if you really pay attention, meditate, connect to these energies, then it starts to become pretty apparent. So that's what I can say on that. We'll see if we have just like one or two more questions from the audience. Tony Dunn from Twitter, who posts a whole bunch of awesome visualizations of asteroids and such flying around the Earth. Seems to be a cool dude, saying, I was impacted, the alert woke me up. So yeah, because people can get shake alerts on their phone. So good to see you in here, Tony. And yeah, whatever you think of me, I think you're doing great work. So I appreciate all that you're doing on helping explain what's happening in our near-Earth environment and more. So thanks for that. That's cool to see you here. We'll do one last question. And Mr. Siv is asking, do you ever expand your consciousness through the means of taking X? And I can say yes, I think that's a worthwhile thing to do, but you have to be careful. But there's also the greater awareness. It's not like all the time, right? These people that are all the time like whacked out, that's a problem. But really everything is changing your consciousness, right? Everything is psychedelic to some degree. So, I mean, your food, how does your food affect you, right? If you're eating a lot of sugar, that's going to change your consciousness for sure. People change their diet to keto and all of a sudden like, wow, my brain fog is gone, right? If you're not depressed and inflamed and foggy anymore, yeah, you're going to be a lot different in terms of your conscious awareness. So all these things impact us. You know, the food that you eat impacts your gut microbiome and the neurotransmitters that they produce, 90% of serotonin made in the gut. So how does that impact your mood? So there's certain things you can do which are very much like a quick wake-up call, but then there's a lot of other things that you can do which are just as impactful in the long run. So there's no easy way out or in. It's all everything simultaneously. So it's really just about, are you just mindful of this on a day-by-day basis and doing what you can to be a better person? And that's important. And if you make a mistake, apologize. I apologized today to someone because I was a little rude to them on Twitter. I wasn't super rude, but I could have been more polite. And then I reflected on that. It's like, I need to apologize to them. So it's not a bad thing to apologize. If you need to be a better person, then do it. Be a better person, right? So Yeah, I think they're very potent, powerful tools, though, that were used once a lot more, especially like if you go back to, like, let's say the Hopi, the Native Americans, right? We have this long tradition of use across thousands of years. Now it's re-emerging, but it's only in the past 200 years that was really like shut down. And we became very materialistic and industrialized and disconnected. So that's now changing again. So I think that's really cool to see. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you all so much for watching. And just one last reminder that the Earth Evolution store, everything is 5% off till the end of December using the code Thanks Stefan. That's THANKSSTEFAN, all one word. We have everything in stock, and we have Festivity coming in stock in just a couple days. So we've mixed it up. I just need to list it on the site. So if you want to get the first batch of this, which is insanely tasty, I've been enjoying this tea like mad. It's crazy good. Then make sure you check out the website. And when that gets listed, I expect that's going to sell out probably instantly. So you're going to want to watch that. So that's it for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this channel, then make sure you smash that thumbs up button to help this channel grow, to help get this video out there to more people. And if you want to stay up to date with what's happening with the Earth, then please subscribe. We cover what's happening as we did in this video. We talked about earthquakes, volcanoes, geomagnetic storms, severe weather events, solar activity, space weather, planetary alignments, resonances, comets, interstellar forces, cosmic consciousness, and more. So if that's your jam, then welcome. It's my jam, and I'm basically just sharing what I'm researching into with all of you. Take all of it with a grain of salt. None of this can be said definitively to be 100% true. There's a lot of speculation, but that's where some of the fun is. But we also clearly identify where we're speculating and not, as I've done in this video. So we're really just interested in mind expansion and also discovering new things beyond the mainstream. So hope to see you here. Thank you all so much for watching. Wishing each and every single one of you well, and I'll see you all very soon. Thanks so much.